So taking me through the 90s real quick, I mean, on the one hand, unprecedented success, but on the other hand, just can't get over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really disappointing. I remember a few years that we finished, we had about, 4 or 5 top 5 finishes in medal play, and then we finished second when we hosted here in Aiken at Cedar Creek. I think that was 96, and we finished second again 2 years later and just came up a little bit short. Even though we had the best team in the country, we finished second in the NCAA tournament. So it was disappointing, and I was like, God, are we ever gonna win one of these stupid things? We're so close every year and competing every year and just never were able to play well at the right time of the year. So it was a little bit concerning, these things are hard to win, and we haven't done it yet.
So let's roll on to about 2002. I think Scott Brown comes on, and he actually won, I think, the Peach Belt that year in the playoff.
Right.
Individual. Well, I guess we can talk about maybe coming on as Scott and Dave. Was that really maybe a turning point for you guys, or was it that whole team? What was it that different about that?
Yeah, it was pretty much the whole team. I mean, those two guys obviously were the leaders, and they were the guys who, really made us what we were. But we also had some other good players too. You've got to count 4 scores every day, and so you can't have 2 really good players, then 2 players that are shooting 75 or 76. You're not going to beat anybody with that. They're just going to counter affect each other. So, we were pretty deep and pretty good, 1 through 5, 1 through 6 those years.
What did it mean to you personally to get that championship?
It was a big relief. I was so glad. And I was so glad for these guys on this team because they had worked really hard. They knew, that we had been close before. We had not won. For them to be the ones to be responsible for that. People like Brian Sanjid, who that was his last year. James McGee, same way. That was his year playing for us. So those guys playing for us, that really meant a lot to have them be able to win our first national championship.
2005. Now you guys come in. Was the entire team coming back? I believe maybe you lost 1.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's see. We would have lost 2. James McGee and Brian Sanjid were gone, and so I'm trying to think. I think Clint Smith was back. So that was we had Dane and Scott and Clint Smith back, those 3, and then 2 new players would have been Casey Thompson from North Augusta, and then Tyler Rowley, an international junior college player from Canada.
But you guys won 11 tournaments.
Yep.
To me, it's almost unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
How did you maintain that level of consistency with the team for all that time?
Pretty easy to do when you have good players. They do it on their own. I mean, they want to go out and win. We won Division II tournaments. We also won some Division I tournaments in there too. So they're all about winning and playing the best, and they're all about each other playing good and helping each other. So it's once again, it's just a good team environment, good team experience for those guys. I remember us fighting the weather every day. And I remember the last round, we actually totally changed the starting rounds to like 7 o'clock in the morning just to get the round in. And as soon as we finished the last hole, I mean, this big old storm came up and just drenched the place. So we really fought that week. But also just remember, come down the stretch, the last couple of finishing holes were pretty difficult, pretty tough. And we managed to play those holes really well.
So now you got 2 in a row. Was it harder to defend or harder to three-peat?
I think three-peat, where we went up in West Virginia to play, it was pretty tough. I mean, it was cold. We were playing in May, but we had a frost delay every morning there, and we were starting playing every day in 38, 40 degree temperature. So it was difficult. It was pretty hard. We've always, and even to this day, we seem to play better on golf courses where par is a good score. We're just not quite as good on a real fast golf course where people are shooting 63 and 64 all over the place. I mean, we're better on more like U.S. Open courses where they're more difficult, where par is a good score, make a lot of pars, a few birdies. That just always seems to fit our team better.
People start talking about a dynasty, 3 straight titles. Is that a term you're ever comfortable with?
That's not for me to do that. I mean, that's for all the sports information directors like to throw that stuff out.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter to me.
Really, what is the first thing that you think about when you look back on those championships?
Just the experience that the student athletes had. It was a good experience for them. It was a good experience for me too. We had a good time. Winning is fun, obviously. So we like to have fun, and but you also realize you're not going to win all the time too. And you just realize to appreciate it when things are going good, when you are winning, to appreciate those times.
You started in '02, I think.
Yep.
'02.
Right.
And the team won the conference championship, or you won actually the individual title.
That's right, yeah.
As a freshman?
As a freshman.
Was that expected? I mean, how did that come together?
I mean, I've kind of had a lot of success coming up, you know, through high school, through early junior days. So, I mean, I felt like I could win and compete on this level, which is part of the reason why I came here. I felt like it would be more of a challenge, obviously, at a bigger school, trying to find my way into the team, and I felt like I could do better at that here. So I felt like I could win. Was it expected? Not really. I hadn't played that great coming in that year. But I started trending, you know, just before the tournament. I kind of saw some scores going down and ended up playing well that week and won.
So what was it about that '03-'04 team that was different?
From what I remember about it, I just remember us not being very well in the fall. And then early in the spring, you know, not really doing anything crazy. And then for whatever reason, we started playing good late towards the end of that year. And I just remember us going on a run where we won like the last term of the year we played, then conference, then regionals, and then obviously we win nationals. I think we won our last 4 tournaments of the year, and I just think we got confidence. And I remember us being paired with Chico State in the last round of the national championship with J.J. Djokovic, which he was the player of the year that year. He now caddies on tour. So it's funny, me and him talk about it all the time, but I just remember they were a heavy favorite and we were kind of the underdog, and we just outplayed them that day.
How did the community react to the team winning that first game?
Oh, unbelievably. Especially the golf course where we played and practiced, Palmetto. I mean, all the membership, they were awesome. And I think it was just so unexpected that there was a lot of excitement in the air.
Talk about the '04-'05 year, the second year.
Best, I mean, unbelievable year. I think we won 11 of 13 events we played in. We just had so much confidence. We knew, and we returned pretty much everyone from that team, from what I remember. And then we added 1 or 2 guys that really kind of upped our 5th man, you would say. I mean, there were guys competing. We had our normal 4 guys that we had from the year before, you know, but the 5th guy, really, they were competing for that spot. To me, I didn't feel the pressure. Well, I don't think we felt the pressure because I think we won early and we won often. I'm not sure about what we did in the fall, but I think we won all the tournaments we played in the fall, and we were like, man, this is going to be an unbelievable year.
And talk about the tournaments you were playing in, because, I mean, you guys got invited to a lot of big events.
We did. I mean, we won. I remember in the fall we won maybe 1 or 2 Division I tournaments that we had gotten in, and then obviously the Division II tournaments we'd won, and we were playing a lot of events and finishing even the tournaments. I think that we didn't win, the 2 that we didn't win that year. I think we placed pretty well, and those were big time Division I tournaments. That was the Houston. Back then it was the champion, basically the Hall of Fame, I think is what they called it, where the Division I champion, and then the top 10 teams from there, and then Division II champion, Division III champion, so on and so forth. We didn't play that great there and finished pretty decent in that tournament, not playing very good. So we felt like, our program was on a D1 level.
But you had a top 10 at the Nationals.
Yeah.
I think did Dane win?
He did win that year. He won the Nationals that year. Obviously played unbelievable. He's part of the reason, obviously a big part of the reason we won the tournament. I remember him playing great that year. He had it going early, and I think he kept it going the whole week and ended up winning, which was awesome.
So rolling on then the 3rd year. Now, was there any, I mentioned you guys said you didn't really feel any pressure in year 2.
Mm-hmm.
How about year 3 now?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause now you're coming back and the whole country is, all of the whole golf world by this time has to know. How is it being on, just in terms of, celebrities are wrong word.
I would say that 3rd year was probably the most pressure packed year for us as far as like, not just during the season, but obviously running up to the national championship. I think during the season we felt like we were the same team, like really, I mean, we returned everybody that we'd had from the first 3 years, except for now we've added Roberto Diaz and Matt Giftis, who were just two incredible players at the high school level, at junior level. So if anything, we got better than we did in year 2. And I think the wins show that too, if I'm not mistaken. I think we only lost one tournament that year, if I'm not mistaken. I think we were 11 of 12 that year as well. I think we won 11 tournaments our last 2 years. But I would say that we were super confident we could do it. The pressure of doing it 3 times in a row is greater than the pressure of doing it 2. So the pressure was higher. Yeah, I just came into my own, I would say. I knew I was capable of doing it the whole time. And I think watching Dane, win that national title the year before kind of spurred me on, and I worked harder probably than I'd ever worked that year because I knew I was getting close to going to the next level as well. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it since I was a young kid. So, I just think a lot of things. I think school got a little easier as far as like scheduling, getting into your major, and I was able to just spend more time on golf, knowing that I was going to turn pro at the end of the year, and just worked harder at it, got better.
Talk about you. You won 6 events.
Yep.
You were named the National Player of the Year that year. Is that, what does that feel like?
That's the ultimate, I guess, test, right? I mean, it's kind of like winning an MVP in any other sport. I mean, it just says that you were, the best player over the course of, 150 rounds or how many ever rounds, 200 rounds that you played. You were the best guy out there consistently, week in and week out. So that's the ultimate achievement, I feel like, is it's winning a Heisman, or it's being the best player in the country at your division.
I mean, of the 3 titles, that was the one that you had the biggest margin, about 12.
Yeah.
So when you go into the final round of that, I mean, is it hard to maintain your focus?
I don't think so, especially in the team. I mean, you gotta factor in that, you gotta have every guy on that team beat each player on your team by 3 shots of the 4 counting scores. So that's hard to do in team golf. I mean, for everybody to do it, that's hard to do. So I just remember it being the excitement around, the last round was awesome because we felt like, we were playing good. The thing about it is if you're not playing good, guys can catch you, but we were playing good. So it's really hard for all those guys to beat you by that many shots. I know that for US Aiken, it put them on the map. Not that they'd already been there, but it built us into a program that was elite. And then for me, obviously, just winning in general at any level is, you hear like all the greatest players say you need to win at each level to prove to yourself that you can win. And I just think winning is something that you can't put a price on. So for me going forward, it was, I learned how to win here, which was a big deal. Coach Carlisle was great with us. And I don't know if he's changed now with the team the way it is now, but we were laid back and we kind of did our own thing. And he would kind of schedule practice, but kind of not. And we just kind of played. He knew we had 5 or 6 guys that were driven to play at the next level. And he didn't have to worry about us when we were there. We were practicing, working our butts off every day. And I think he knew that. I think he didn't have to push us like maybe he pushes other teams. And we didn't need the motivational speech, so to say. We were already driven enough, and I think that's why we had so much success, because we were driven.
What comes back when you think back on those days?
Just how fun it was. Just playing at the level I'm playing at now, how much more stress is involved, and Coach would drive us everywhere. I didn't have to think about driving down the road to some tournament, and I just thought about golf, and obviously that's the beauty of being an amateur too. You're not doing it for a living yet. So just how much fun it was back then. And how much success we had obviously made it a whole lot more fun.
So you get here in 02-03, your freshman year. What was it about it? I mean, you were pretty good right off the bat when you came right in.
I was very inconsistent right off the bat. We typically play 4 tournaments in the fall. I believe I played 2 of them. Missed the first tournament or 2 in the spring, and then finally qualified for Florida State's tournament. And so once I got in the lineup there, I stayed in the lineup for the rest of my college career. It just took me a while to learn how to play and how to post a score in tournament conditions. And we had a great team my freshman year. Had 2 really strong seniors in Scott Usher and Aaron Black, who I'm still very good friends with to this day.
And now, talk about the 2003-04 season, right? You're coming back your sophomore year. Scott's on the team now. I think Clint was on the team at that point.
Correct.
So talk about that group of guys and how you guys felt heading into that.
I knew Brownie from high school golf because South Aiken, and he played at North Augusta, so we played a lot in high school. Didn't really know him too intimately, but when he came in the spring, obviously he qualified for the team right away. Our first tournament was down in Panama City, and me and him just hit it off as really good friends, and as more importantly for our team and our careers in golf as competitors. Brownie's very competitive, I'm very competitive, and the 2 of us just really hit it off, and the rest of the guys on the team, we had a great team. The big thing that led to the success of our team was, we really all enjoyed each other. We liked traveling together, we liked playing together, we liked practicing together, and more importantly, we liked competing against each other. And so kind of the mentality we took as we started getting better in tournaments was, we didn't really care what the other teams were doing. We wanted to beat everybody else on our team. And if we felt like if we did that, then everything else would take care of itself. So we were in the hunt going into the final round, and just excited to be kind of in the final group, and didn't really know how we stood. We knew it was really tight the whole way coming in. And it was probably the most lackadaisical celebration when we got done, because we were just all in shock that we had won. I can't remember who was the last player to come in. I think it was Brownie probably bringing up the rear. He was probably playing 1 man at that time. And when he putted out, Coach came over to us and was like, "Y'all just won." And we just all kind of stood there and looked at each other and didn't know what to do, because we were just all in shock that we had actually won. And so we learned how to celebrate a little better going forward. There was a lot of excitement back home, because we had a team that we knew could win, and I think it was probably as much surprise from a lot of people around here that we'd actually done it, and got a lot of praise from local media, all of our fans, family around here. I mean, they were super excited, and that was just kind of some foreshadowing of what would take place over the next 2 years.
Talk about you personally, your junior year, unbelievable success that year. I mean, what did you change anything in your preparation or your mentality heading into that?
I don't know what the secret was to my junior year. I think things just kind of started clicking in. I've always been a big field player, was never much of a practicer. I didn't like to spend a lot of time, beating balls on the range or spending time on the putting green. I get my experience from just playing, and we played a lot of golf that year. And so I feel like I just got into a groove where I understood my game very well and understood, my misses and my good shots and how to use that in tournament play, and really just kind of got on a roll, towards the end of the spring season. Won conference, and then made double bogey on the last hole on 18 at regionals, and Brownie ended up cutting me by 1, so that really fired me up. and then went into nationals and loved the golf course in Savannah. It just fit my eye. It was very tough, very challenging, a lot about, course strategy, positioning where your golf ball is going to be. And I just played well. And so that was, a big part of the success in my junior year is I just had a very good mental game that year. My confidence was very high, and I understood what I was doing well and how to repeat that. A shot that I hit on the 17th hole is one that I'll never forget as long as I live. We had a bit of a backup because it was pretty windy that day. I remember Clint was in front of me and hit a good shot in there, and I never looked at what club Clint hit because he was always 2 clubs longer than me, so it didn't matter what he was hitting. And they had this tucked front right pin over the water. Wind was kind of in off the left, and I hit this hold-off cut 5-iron to about 3 feet and made birdie, and then made a good par on the last hole. Didn't know where I stood at the time. I knew I was close because I think I was, tied for the lead, around the lead going into the final round, but I think it was a shotgun start that day because we had some bad weather coming in that afternoon, and so nobody really knew where anything was. We kind of knew we had wrapped up the team portion, but as far as me winning individually, it was still up in the air of who was going to win it. And it took a little while. Scores started coming in, and I remember Casey Thompson just jumping on my back when they posted the scores after I'd won. Yeah, we were outside the scores tent because it was shotgun, so scores were just kind of rolling in. Live scoring was trying to get updated throughout the whole thing. And so we didn't really know officially, A, that we had won as a team, and then, B, where I stood as an individual. So, but that was a great evening we had that night. My senior year wasn't quite as good as my junior year. It's in golf, it's tough to replicate good play all the time. There's some players out there that are very special that are able to do that. I had a great summer that year. That was the summer that I shot 59 in the Palmetto Amateur. Got to play in some really good tournaments over the summer. Came out and won my first tournament in college, senior year out down in Kiowa. And then from then it was a solid year, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Brownie really stepped up our senior year and had a fantastic year. I was player of the year my junior year. Brownie was player of the year senior year, and he wholeheartedly deserved it because he played fantastic. Had some good tournaments in the spring. Would like to have a couple shots back at nationals that year at West Virginia. I ended up finishing second, and I really wanted to try to win, 2 in a row and to kind of cap off my college career. And because I thrive on the big tournaments. The tougher the golf course, the more it means. Seems like the better I play. And so national championships were always really special to me, wanting to be able to perform, not only for the team, but, for myself to prove that I can play at a high level. I think going into nationals our senior year, it was more of an expectation. It was our tournament to lose. We had proved ourselves over my junior and senior year that we pretty much won just about every tournament we entered into. And so with that kind of dominance, it was somewhat expected from, the school and Aiken and from our team that, we would go ahead and close it off and win 3 in a row. Sometimes you just don't play well, but, fortunately we had a great time up in West Virginia. It was freezing cold in the second week of May, which was a weird national championship, but we all pulled it together. Really tough golf course up there, and played well, and finished it out the way we deserved to for what we had done over the past couple
Did you
years.
feel much of a legacy that those teams?
I think they left a big legacy. It's just cool to look back, and talk about it again, about all the success we had. We lived so in depth into it at the time that you forget about a lot of the things that happened, and it's crazy to think that it's been nearly 15 years since since that took place, but it feels like it was just yesterday. 4 of the best years of my life. I would give anything to be able to go back and do it again, especially with the guys we had. It was just so much fun. But I really feel like we've helped put USC Aiken even more so on the map in the golf program. I mean, they've had a lot of good players come through here. We've got a couple guys out on tour now, which is really cool because we never did up until Brownie got on tour. And so it's a great program here. I mean, Coach Carlisle is one of the best guys you'll ever meet. We've got fantastic golf courses around here to play at. The school is great. I graduated here with an accounting degree and had a fantastic experience with all my professors there. So, it really worked out for me staying here locally in Aiken and going to school, because I know I wouldn't have gotten the same experience going anywhere else.